It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we're talking about some big changes with the DC Universe on the film and movie side.
You know what, Chris? I feel like people are listening to this possibly on Halloween Day, or if not, like the night before. Can you say this maybe a little bit more spooky?
Oh, spooky. Okay, let me get spooky. This week we're talking about the big changes with the DC Universe. Ooh, spooky. We get our first official look at Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. The trailer. Oh, Black Panther has a red carpet premiere. Ooh. And more.
That was the growl of a panther right behind you.
I thought it was really. I was there. I turned around and looked. There was nothing there. You fooled me. You had me.
Yeah, you know, it's a cycle. The Halloween is one of those holidays that's always on a specific date, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it always changes on what type of date it is, and like sometimes it's not a big deal, but since it's such like a children and party based holiday,
yes,
right? You never know what exactly is happening when. So with Halloween, I guess all around the world, I don't know exactly how other parts of the world celebrate it explicitly when it comes to dates, but I guess here in North America, it is October 31st, which is on a Monday this year. So you kind of get like weekends of parties, right? Whereas I feel like if Halloween was landing specifically on a Saturday, you know, Halloween would be done on Saturday because we all know what's happening on Tuesday. It's November 1st. The eager winter holiday people are like going to be hopping on the peppermint.
They are
watching the Christmas movies.
They are ready to just start singing those carols and decking those halls as soon as they can. And I say, pump your brakes. No time for Christmas movies, Mike. We've got Planes, Trains, and Automobiles in November. I'm very excited because this year, I've told you this maybe, there's an extra hour-long version coming out with extra stuff they cut from the original version way back in the 80s. So, but it is Halloween. It's Halloween weekend. I believe Dia de los Muertos, is that the first or is it the 31st? When does that happen?
Don't ask me.
I was gonna say there's probably some other I guess holidays close to this, but it's fun. I went to a Halloween party last night. Mike, I dressed up as Thor from Love and Thunder. My wife was the mighty Thor from Thor Love and Thunder. You got to see this photo. We had a good time. I had the full hair and everything. It is very frustrating to wear a wig with that much hair because you don't know where it starts and it's not really your hair. So it was very fun, very exciting to do that, and I'm glad. I know you've got an outfit. I don't know if I don't want to say what it is unless you're willing to share. But
I've just been keeping it on the lowdown from people that'll see it in person. It's not extravagant or anything, but it's always more fun to like walk into like a party, right? And they're just like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. But yeah, I have like a kind of a somewhat kind of bootleg casual Emperor Cusco costume, which has been fun to wear because you just need a gigantic red t-shirt and you're basically halfway there. You just need some sort of like little gold crown, but I'll be throwing that on tomorrow. So yeah, like I said, it's like the night before Halloween, so we're trying to get into the spooky mood. So we've been watching some like spooky Halloween-y movies. Our area that we live in, Burbank, California, is home to a lot of really creative people that work in the industry. So there's just a lot of really awesome decorations all around town. And there's an article I pulled up for our area that had like a decorating contest, and they listed all these addresses. So I whipped up my Google Maps and I threw all of these locations on there, and I had to like drag and move them around, or else we'd be driving crisscrossing around town. So I made this like cool little loop that we drove around. Obviously, the big skeletons,
the 12-foot skeletons, right? Everybody loves them.
Like you got them even on your. They're everywhere because you can just go out and buy them. But I've seen some like now that they've been out for a couple years, they've been getting either like modified or they're making more expensive ones. There's like one where like the eyes like have little LCD screens, so they like blink and they can like emote. And there's like another version where like the chest cavity like glows fire, and I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. I've seen some other people adding their own like clothing items too, which I think is like pretty funny. So I'm always down for that. The best decorations, though, last night were anything that was very heavily themed. And there was 2 that were themed amazingly. The first one, I sent you a video of it. I put it up on my Instagram, so you can go check it out there. If it's maybe I should save it as a highlight because I don't know how to make a reel at all. But it was a God Save the Queen theme, which is just perfectly timed. You walk up to the casket in their lawn, and it says like the mummy on it, and then there's all these like skeletons dressed in like this kind of, I guess, regal kind of clothing. Union Jack flags all over the place. It was great. It was amazing. Tons of people stopping on the street to look at that one. And then there was another one that was just like had a really cool Ghostbusters set piece. And we noticed this a month ago. We were driving around before really the Halloween vibes hit the city. And somebody had a gigantic Stay Puft marshmallow, like the size of their house, cut out of wood, and we were just like that. But that was the only thing in their yard like a month ago. So we went back and visited last night, and they had all the Ghostbusters out there. They had like rope LED lights coming out of their proton packs connecting to them. They even added another Ghostbuster to the roof with another like a proton pack, and it was great. So props to everyone out here. If you're living anywhere in the LA area, just like go around and check out Burbank, California. It looks great. But it was awesome. It was awesome vibes last night. We stopped, got a slice of pizza in the middle of looking at it. It was just cool. It was a new, I would say it's like a new Halloween tradition I think it's going to be for us. Just like drive around town every Halloween, nab some pizza. There was good ranch with the pizza too. That's a whole nother topic. But if ever you're offering me ranch when I'm ordering the pizza and I don't have to ask for it, it's just like, ooh, I love you.
Yeah, I mean, so I think for us, I mean, it's a little different where we live, right? We have a big pumpkin festival that everybody goes to here. It's pricey. You can go watch these pumpkins carved. But I went to my in-laws, and what I like the most about this time of year is the smell of like dead leaves, right? Like I know you probably don't get as many leaves out there dying as we do here in the Midwest, but you grew up with it, and you know the scent, right? Like, you know, the colder weather, the dead leaves, the kind of... it's been raining a little bit this week, right? You know, it always happens in the fall, so that smell is very, very unique. So my brother-in-law he has like one of those like Razor, like 4-wheeler kind of things. He pulled a trailer. We did a little hayride with some kids, family, and friends, and it was really fun to be out in that and just like absorb the fall weather, right? We drove through the public graveyard like thing to make it spooky, but like at the end of the day, you're like, I just like being outside. I think one of the nice things of the fall is being outside in the milder temperatures here. I don't know about you out there. Hopefully it is mild for you, but it's been great. Normally we jump in the stuff that we watch here and we talk about it, but all my stuff's in the notes actually. It's got bullet points. So let's go ahead and jump into some of your spooky stuff here, because this is probably, I wouldn't say the end of the legitimacy of watching spooky stuff, but like the desire to watch scary movies is probably dies off immediately after October 31st.
Yeah, which is exactly why I watched these two things just very recently, because I knew once November 1st rolled around I wouldn't really want to watch them, but I went back and I finally rewatched the very first Scream from 1996, something I haven't seen in a very, very long time. I was but a scared little child when the movie came out. And I was very scared of it. My brother, being 3 years older, was a lot more into scary movies, so it was something like, my older, more like adult brother would watch, and I would be too scared and try to watch it through my fingers and stuff like that. Oh, yeah. I've seen it on bits of it more on and off as I've grown up, and it's become less and less scary, so I finally sat down and watched it all the way through, and I was like, oh man, Scream is not scary really at all. It's more of like a thriller than anything else, and a lot of the horror movie tropes in it are just very kind of visibly on display, because it's a very meta movie where you have a character in there talking about scary movies and the rules of it. I think that was kind of really the selling point of the film, right? It was a love letter to all of the scary movies from back in the 80s. So the two takeaways from the Scream franchise really as a whole, I would say, is I think it's hilarious that Ghostface is very easy to topple over. Like just one like little kick while you're laying on the ground, you know, like screaming for your life to like his like side of his ribs. He's like down for the count for at least like 10 seconds, you know, for dramatic effect, which I thought was pretty hilarious because that even carries over into the sequel that I watched, Scream 2022. We just finished watching that one. And that one gets even more meta because a very important revelation that happens between the very first Scream movie and the Scream movie that just came out this year was all of the sequels are entirely about the fictional movie Stab in the Scream universe that is based on the events of the first movie. So the whole franchise is very, very meta, and the most recent film is no different.
Well, what my concern with Scream and what happened was the advent of Scary Movie and Scary Movie 2. Really ruined Ghostface for me because they took that and made it, you know, huge parody, a lot of comedy. They made it where he was just kind of goofy and like because, you know, I don't think Scream has like a license on that likeness, right? I think it's just a mask kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like literally anyone could like make fun of it, and like to me, it took the, like you mentioned, like the perceived horror as a younger person, yanked the rug right out from under it by making a parody version with a similar looking character.
And it's funny because it's not like things have never been parodied before, but Scary Movie, that was a very, very successful launch of a franchise. They parodied like everything once that movie became popular, and it was really easy to do. The material rights itself, you're just parodying everything else that's been out in the box office a couple years beforehand. And the whole time, my wife could not turn her brain off from calling Officer Dewey Officer like Doofus or something. I think that's what he's called in the Scary Movie franchise. The one that goes to the bedroom by himself with the vacuum cleaner, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
She could not turn that she could not turn that comparison off in her brain to the point where she thought it was the same person. I was like, it's not the same person. They just cast a lookalike to look similar to it.
Yeah, because it's David Arquette, right?
Yes,
and he is known for humorous roles as well. So I can easily see what she's doing. But what I really enjoy the most about Scream versus Scream of this year is the cast. They got most of them back, right? The originals came back for this, so you got to see these characters kind of age up 60 or 26 years kind of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting to see them come back. It does get really silly, right? Because you have people in the movie commenting on all of the Stab sequels and how they're not as good as the original, which is essentially meta commentary on the whole Scream franchise as a whole. So you have like literal characters in the movie saying like, oh, all those sequels sucked. And it's just like, you mean you're talking about the movie that you're in right now? So if you're into all that kind of like meta stuff, give it a shot. If you don't want to watch all of the Scream movies in the middle, you really don't have to. I watched the first one. I typed into YouTube Scream recap, found an 8-minute video that caught me up on everything I needed to know, and I felt like I was not missing anything out of the most recent Scream movie. So I would say go check them out, but I mean, we're about to hit like November 1st, so maybe
put them on next year's list.
Year.
Yeah, put a reminder in your phone for October 1st of next year. Scream movies.
Because, I mean, if you're like a horror movie fan, you've already seen this already, right? Mm-hmm. So really, this is just next year's Halloween recommendations. But last up, there's a new stop-motion Halloween film from the director Henry Selick, who's done Nightmare Before Christmas, Coraline, James and the Giant Peach, like all of those like iconic stop-motion movies. He directed a film written by Jordan Peele and a few others called Wendell and Wild, which is a Netflix original film. And obviously it's a stop-motion film. It looks beautiful. Every stop-motion movie I ever watch, right, always looks amazing because the amount of time and effort and craft that goes into it, like it's almost kind of like a cheat code, right? You're kind of like signing this deal that says I'm going to put a ton of work into this movie, and no matter how bad or good the story is, it's always going to look beautiful, so we can at least rest our hat on that, right? So I don't know if it was just the combination of late night pizza and being out all night last night, driving around looking at houses, but the wife and I fell asleep watching Wendell and Wild, which is unfortunate because it looks beautiful, but we kind of both agreed that the story is incredibly not convoluted. It's messy. There's tons of stuff going on. There's all of these extra plot points and stories, and nothing really coalesces really satisfyingly together. They're like adding lore to like demons. There's like all these backstories for characters. There's these like different villains in different corners of the story trying to do their own little thing. It's just so complicated. And another weird thing that's, I would say, almost like a PSA is you think this is going to be kind of like a kid-friendly movie, right? You're thinking Nightmare Before Christmas, Coraline, James and the Giant Peach. Obviously, stop-motion movies do have that kind of weird vibe of being unsettling every once in a while. I feel like there's very weirdly juicy scenes in James and the Giant Peach that I can't get out of my head, right? And then you juxtapose the juicy peach next to like live giant insects. I don't know, just weird vibes in my head, right? But all those movies have been PG. I believe Wendell and Wild is oddly PG-13, and there's like literally a demon's anus in the beginning of the movie. It's played for comedic effect for sure, but you're kind of like off balance as soon as you start watching this movie because you're like, well, what's going on here? The main character's in handcuffs for a little bit at the beginning of the movie. It's very strange, and that's just like the best way I can sum up this movie. It lacks a focus, which I feel like would really help because the movie is like obviously beautiful. So I say this saying I haven't even seen the last 20 minutes of the movie yet because we fell asleep and then we didn't want to finish it. So I'm seeing positive reviews out there for it. So I wouldn't be surprised if you do like it. Maybe we're just missing a very satisfying turn in the third act that we haven't finished yet. But yeah, we weren't super stoked to go back and finish it.
Yeah. One of the things I would say I watched, because you made me think of, you're talking about older, stop motion animation things, horror, like, right, like Nightmare Before Christmas, Coraline, Corpse Bride, right, a lot of stop motion and horror, because it adds that like unnatural like realness to it a little bit. Like you're like, oh, this is like tangible. This isn't just something animated. But like, and this is entirely related, but it was making me think of things I watched in my childhood. And last night I forgot that we literally put on the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror playlist on Disney Plus. Which, thank God they already have that pre-built, and you don't have to go like search those out because that would be a nightmare to try to put those. But if you're looking for something to take you way back in the day, real fast, just throw those on and watch those from the beginning because boy, I remember watching those as a kid, even like not just on Halloween, but like repeats, like throughout the year. So 100%. That's awesome, man. I mean, it's great that there's good content there, but sad that you wouldn't recommend going back and finishing it at the end of the day. Let's jump into news. Let's do this. Let's get into this because I put the big thing at the top, Mike. Normally I bury the lead on some of these things, right? Mm-hmm. But this first topic for the week is the biggest thing that has come out of it, and really it was mostly just for a day. I've not heard much since then, but. Warner Brothers Discovery, whatever it's called, Warner Discovery, has come out and announced that the DCEU is now called the DC Universe officially, Mike. So we need to go back and erase the list. But James Gunn and Peter Safran have been announced as co-CEOs of the DC Film, TV, and Animation Studios over there.
Yeah, I feel like it's maybe officially called DC Studios. I'm not 100% sure what the name of it was, but yeah, essentially James Gunn and Peter Safran together, a two-headed monster will be tackling what is the DC universe, and they're essentially going to be DC's Kevin Feige, which I suppose you could look at as a big compliment, right? Feige has been so successful, you need two people to accomplish what he's been able to do.
Well, and one of the fun things come out after this recently is that I think not Peter Safran, the David Zaslav actually went to Kevin Feige and made him an offer to run the DC universe before this, and James Gunn did say the first person he told after he got this job was in fact Kevin Feige himself. So obviously there is no bad blood here, right? I believe even Kevin has congratulated James Gunn, and by God, going from a very much a C-list movie maker to the co-CEO of a very lucrative studio with lots of options, not just movies but film, TV, and animation is huge. Couple notes here. This is a 4-year deal for them, right? That's pretty standard fare, and it starts November 1st, so that is on Tuesday. But my understanding is it will prevent Gunn from doing any Marvel projects while he's there. So don't expect, I believe, any more Guardians spin-offs from him necessarily, a Guardians 4 within this time frame, but it does not affect the release of the Guardians Holiday Special, and more specifically Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So we can take a breath there.
Yeah, 4 years, not a whole lot of time to kind of really hit the ground running and to see results. Obviously, you can weigh in on things that are in production, try to tweak things, move things, add story notes, because obviously both of these creatives know story, so they can weigh in that way. But you don't necessarily have to make them, CEOs and creatives in order to have bring them in and give notes. So I am curious if they're going to have like an overall strategy. This will be the first time, maybe in both of their careers, definitely Gunn, where they have to answer to more of a higher authority, right? They're not just going to be planning out, story beats of their next project. They have to be planning out beats for this whole universe, strategizing what goes on HBO Max, what should be a series, what should be a movie. So it's a different job, but I mean, maybe it's good that there's two of them. Peter Safran has that producer background, and Gunn has the creative side to him. So it's a good combo, that's for sure. Yeah,
100%. I think, and they've worked together before on I believe Safran was at least a producer on the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, and I think he's also on Aquaman that was not Gunn related. So he's got some fingers in DC properties that are still viable, if you will. Gunn's got, again, obviously the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker 2. But I think, to me, there's an interesting dynamic here, right? 4 years. If we're talking film, you can start putting things in place and picking people to run those movies, right, within 4 years, because it's like a year of pre-production, a year of production, and then a year of post, right? About 3 years to make a movie. If maybe that DC takes a little longer in their post-production. We know that, so there might be something. So they're obviously setting the board in 4 years. Maybe if things are working, they'll continue this role, right? That would be fantastic. But maybe they can start it and then pull somebody in to see it through. I don't know. And we've talked about this before, and I think this is good news. I think my concerns, and you kind of nailed it on the head there. James Gunn is a creative. He's never really run a studio or really been in charge of everything, right? He's written, directed, quote unquote, acted in his movies. I don't know how much of the producing an entire kind of essentially company, studio, including film, TV, and animation, is going to, how much is he going to bring to that? And last time when we reviewed Peacemaker, we talked about, someone should have reeled him in to really made that a better show. Like, it wasn't a bad show, right? But like, we agreed it could have been like really, really good if someone would have reeled him in on some of like his jokes and references. So
yeah, it does make you wonder if Gunn will be in the director's seat again over at DC. He's taken on a really big role, so this could be a good thing, essentially, right? Gunn now needs to be fostering other creatives in the industry and bringing in people that he trusts. Obviously he'll be in an executive producer kind of slot, so he'll be on set, giving notes, looking at, scripts, planning out larger ideas, for sure. But yeah, it seems just like it's in the same sense of like, well, you don't see Kevin Feige, directing any Marvel movies, right? But he is an army of one, so there's no way he'd have time to do that. So,
he's a machine with a hat.
Yeah, so who knows? I could see Gunn stepping in to direct, maybe 1 or 2 episodes of like the next season of Peacemaker or something like that, right? Something that he can kind of just drop in for like a couple of weeks and then drop out and get back to work,
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's one thing we've talked about, and I there's a lot of questions here we just don't know, but it sounds like possibly. And I would not be surprised if by Comic-Con of next year, San Diego Comic-Con, there is a big Warner Brothers, DC Films, DC whatever studios presentation where they announce everything he's been working on, right? Like this is what we're doing. Gunn and Safran as a team. This is what we're doing. This is what we're gonna. This is the future for us, and we have it mapped out now. Because he does have the benefit of working with Marvel, right? He knows how Marvel works on the inside. He knows how they work on the outside, and he can probably translate a lot of that over for maybe some success at Warner Brothers, because while they've always tried to create their own Marvel over there a la Justice League, they really just kind of skipped all the actual building, right? We talked about that with Black Adam. There's the Justice Society. Well, who the hell are they? Why the hell don't they know each other? Why are they a team if nobody is meeting, if everyone's meeting for the first time, kind of thing? But we're supposed to believe they had a history. So hopefully, this is not bad news by any means. It's just really surprising news, I guess, is what I would put there.
Yeah. The truth of the matter is they got a tough year ahead of them, right? Shazam! Fury of the Gods is going to be the first film that they have under their belt next year, right? And everyone's going to know, very clearly that, whether it's good or bad, it's not going to be, their fault or to their credit, right? They just got on the job, right? And the same for the Flash and Aquaman 2 next year as well. These are all films that they have not really had much control over, so they're going to have to kind of weather the storm, right? Whether it's good or bad. And two of those titles have a whole lot of drama swirling around them. So yeah, 2024 is probably going to be their year more than anything else. Mm-hmm. I don't know if maybe season 2 of Peacemaker slots in here some way, and they can kind of maybe hang their hat on that a little bit more. But yeah, I think you're right. 2024, some sort of convention. I don't know if it's Comic-Con or Fandom. I would hope that James Gunn is just like, nobody likes Fandom. I'm in charge. We're getting rid of it. And we're going to go back to Comic-Con where, we're going to deliver a big 1-2 punch. So
yeah,
hold on to your pants about another year.
The two things I'll add to this at the end. Number one, he will not oversee the Batman 2 or Joker 2 movies. Those are supposedly in their own producers' hands. So they also exist outside of the DC universe, right? So those aren't connected to anything going on here. So that's fine.
Which is actually, that's strange. I never really thought about that. Kind of similar to when you acquire a company or an IP, there's these legacy contracts that are still out there, right? Can you imagine Feige not being able to, weigh in on something that's coming out in the MCU?
Well,
that'd be very strange.
That was phase 1 and the start of phase 2, right? Whenever Marvel still had their their comics creative council or whatever that ran through everything and everybody got mad at, but yeah, there's that. And also the only other thing that could affect this is literally if the rumors that Zaslav is coming in to streamline Warner Discovery and then resell again, another purchaser could essentially end this and start their own thing, whatever that looks like. So
shenanigans.
Yeah, so anything. I don't think anything bad will happen here, but there is that big asterisk. Hey, if that's true, someone buys us up, contracts are null and void. Right? We can hire and fire anyone we want in that situation. But I don't think anyone's. I didn't hear any discourse about this, right? So I think everyone's fine.
Everyone seems to be, I would say, cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, probably even more optimistic than cautiously, because I think they'll tie into our next bit of news here, where after years and years of questioning it, will Henry Cavill come back as Superman? He says he has confirmed that talks are in place for him to return as Superman in the DC universe, Mike. So he has come out and said that himself. This could be part of the new Gunn Safran leadership, but the producer for this movie is not James Gunn or Peter Safran. He is currently soliciting scripts or pitches for this movie, whatever it may be. So it does not sound like it will be a Zack Snyder Man of Steel 2. Thankfully, it will be somebody else running and going for a Superman movie with Henry Cavill.
I'll be really pessimistic here and say I'm probably not gonna care about this until they announce a director that has some sort of vision or some sort of excitement behind it, right? Yeah, obviously, Cavill looks good in the suit, right? And he's a good actor, but what he's done so far, which you could say, has been outside of his control so far, has not been very exciting as Superman. So I don't really have any real evidence in front of me to get me excited. It's all theoretical possibilities that it could be good. Right, so I mean, do I wait around for something theoretical to make me happy?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it on a little shelf in my mind and revisit it when something a little bit more exciting happens.
Yeah, I think it's great that they're keeping the actor. You're right. It will be next year. Will be 10 years since Man of Steel, but there's always been an opportunity to bring Henry Cavill in and do something with him. They just haven't. They did. We're not going to talk about the other two movies he was in, Batman v Superman and Justice League. But there's always an opportunity to build this character out more in between those, right? And that I think is the exciting part. Superman since the original movies in the Christopher Reeve era, have we really been excited for Superman on live action screen other than his TV shows, right? I mean, you're a Smallville casual viewer at this point. He's still got his own show on DC with Superman and Lois. I mean, he's always been, he had what was the one they had that was in the 90s, the Superman show? Lois and Clark.
Lois and Clark. Yeah,
yes.
I mean, Superman is such an iconic character, just like Batman and Spider-Man. He's always going to be around. Yeah. We're always going to have movies. We're always going to have TV shows of Superman. It's just part of humanity at this point in time. So yeah, I'm surprised that they're like holding on to Henry Cavill, because I feel like, I don't know, can you imagine like a whole franchise launching off his back? Do you think there's 3 Superman movies, that they can get out of him, right? To kind of just like build out like a Blu-ray box set?
I'd give him 2 more, because technically he has 3. If you include his 3 movies he was in.
I don't.
I know you don't, but we also don't get to release the movies, Mike. But I think they could get 2 more out of him, pretty comfortably. With that, they did say, due to The Rock going out and saying like he wants to fight Superman as Black Adam, that's the next thing he's gonna do in Black Adam 2 is fight Superman. Well, he's now been backtracking all that talk this week. He's like, actually, for Shazam, for Black Adam, the fight with Superman is not the next step we're gonna be doing. So it sounds like they're, again, maybe it's the Gunn Safran thing, maybe it's not, maybe it's the Black Adam producers like, look, we need to figure this out before we commit to that, because we don't want to say we're going to fight Superman and then Superman's doing something else in another movie and just ruin everybody's day. But I think Henry Cavill could get 2 more movies before they recast him. I think he's not the problem, right? I don't think we don't have an Ezra Miller situation on our hands here. We don't have an actor who seems to be burnt out playing the character, a la Ben Affleck. So I don't know. It's interesting, like you said, to announce we're going to continue with him 10 years later, but without really having a direction of what they're doing with it. So we'll come back to, like you said. I think you said best. We'll shelve it, come back to it when we get more concrete information. I think Superman's got some really good villains. I think the idea of Brainiac or mostly Brainiac. I was trying to think of some other ones he had, but Brainiac's probably the best one they could do with him in there. Same thing goes for The Batman. I think no one's surprised here that the sequel for The Batman is officially greenlit, but the idea is that this will not be in theaters until probably 2025 at this rate. I don't know. Is Matt Reeves? He just takes his time, I guess, with his movies?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, power to him.
Yeah. I mean, also, I mean, how many other Batman are we going to see in theaters next year? Right? We got at least Affleck is supposed to be in Aquaman 2, Keaton in The Flash. Throw another couple Batman in there, Mike. You got any you want to see?
Bat saturations.
Yeah,
I feel
Bat. We need Man Bat.
They're doing like everything else. They're trying to like adapt every other variation of Robin that exists, right, on TV. It feels like, and video games.
Yeah, man, that video game Gotham Knights is just getting beat to hell in the reviews right now. People are not liking that game. So that sucks for the game. But man, I mean, that's just getting beat to ground. But yeah, Batman. I don't think anyone's surprised as he's going to get a sequel. So we'll see when that comes out next time. The other big news this week, which is actually completely unrelated to the James Gunn Peter Safran announcement DC, is that the Green Lantern series is getting completely reshuffled and is shifting gears.
No duh. I mean, Green Lantern. I guess if you were a DC Comics fan, Green Lantern would be like a tier character.
I love Green. He's like my only one I enjoy in the comic books.
Yeah, he is a Justice League member, right? And he is. It's just like the adaptations to live action just have not paid off yet. Like this is just like a really big character out there that you can. I mean, you could hang an entire franchise off of this character, and it just hasn't worked yet. So it makes sense. That's like, let's not release something that's like weird, and there's like the show on HBO Max, but then there's also a movie version of the character. Let's maybe try to shuffle this and make it work.
So this is still the series version of it, which they were writing. So the report is the writer Seth Grahame-Smith he left after the recent changes at Warner Discovery with the merger and the firings. So his scripts are now considered a tax write-off. Wink, wink, David Zaslav, because we know what you're doing, indicating that the cost of the show was the issue here, not the quality of the scripts. Right? Like you could easily rewrite a script and save it, but if the show's going to be expensive, you write it off. Like this is the budget we had. This was Bleeding Tube, whatever. Write it off. However. But, as we previously reported, they had picked really weird-ass Green Lantern characters for this. Like, really, like, lower B, upper C characters. Like, Guy Gardner in the original Green Lantern, Alan Scott, as, like, actors for this. And that's, like, really weird because, literally, you have Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart as, like, the main two, right? They've been in, like, everything, animated shows. Most of the main things you see Green Lantern, you're either getting Jon Stewart or Hal Jordan. So they've revamped it. They're kicking out these obscure Green Lantern characters and actually going with a Jon Stewart-based series, which is going to be way better because people know who he is, and it's one character of Green Lantern focused rather than multiple Green Lanterns kind of floating around there. So I think this is much better news for Green Lantern than all the stuff we'd been hearing leading up to this for the show.
Yeah, I wonder if you try to tie it into Peacemaker, right? The only series on HBO Max that, is positively moving the DC universe forward, right? Does it make sense to tie it to it? Is there still kind of this idea out there in the DC universe that they're going to be these different worlds and these different realities just existing so they can kind of just make whatever they want to make, because I don't know how the Joker sequel could ever factor in anything. It's such a specific story to tell, right? And it would be weird to kind of shoehorn that into something. So
yeah, and they're definitely not doing, like, the Joker and the Batman are like going to stay separate. I think, to me, what is, I don't know if it needs to tie into Peacemaker. Like I said, they need to build themselves up before they tie into another show. For sure, but I think there's opportunity. Like, to me, the Green Lanterns are always very similar to the Guardians of the Galaxy, right? A lot of space stuff, a lot of out and meeting interesting looking creatures. The core are always, the people in the core are very different looking, and are different alien species. So I think there's an opportunity here to have it out there. But you do bring up a good point. Now that I'm sitting here talking it out loud. There were the aliens in Peacemaker. So you could literally tie, I guess, that part of it to the Green Lanterns, right? Like, hey, there's this species trying to take over planets. Green Lanterns, let's go figure out what's going on.
Yeah, and I don't remember, I mean, I know Peacemaker made references to other heroes and villains when he was, in his show, but Peacemaker definitely establishes a universe that has already had heroes for a while, so if they do tie it into the Peacemaker show, is it an origin story for Green Lantern, or has Green Lantern always been out there?
Yep.
Is there a new Green Lantern being picked, and maybe that's our entry point?
Yeah, and usually that's, as you remember from the Ryan Reynolds one, that's how that movie starts to pick a new one. But how, with this being Jon Stewart, I don't remember how he got his from Hal Jordan because there's only 2 Green Lanterns per quadrant. I think there's opportunity to, like I said, maybe even not have it on, or maybe he's not abducted. He's taken out in space pretty early on, and we're not on Earth until maybe the end of the first season, and brings it back. But yeah, like I said, the Peacemaker stuff does establish the DC universe. Aquaman and Flash are both in there. So I don't remember if he made a Green Lantern reference either. I think that might have been off the table. But to me, this revamp, this rewrite, this shifting of gears is the right direction to go for this show. To pick a character somebody actually knows, a character people have memories of and like can remember from. I think it was the Justice League Unlimited cartoon. He was in that one, so very, very, I think, smart to do that. So I just want to know who is going to be playing it and who's going to be writing it at this point, right? Like, that's the thing with all this. They can tell us these project names all day long, but until someone's attached to it, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. So we'll keep you guys posted. You're still watching the Flash TV show, right? Every week, every time it comes on.
Of course,
no?
Yeah, all the time.
No, okay. Well, there's still dozens of people watching it, Mike. Literally dozens. And the Flash final season is going on right now, and they are bringing in Javisha. I'm probably butcher her name. Leslie, who played Batgirl in the in the second season of Batgirl, to play a role in the upcoming season. And this character, I have seen set photos of it. It could be a spoiler-ish, but I think it's actually really, really cool information. It doesn't ruin, I think, the season or the show, but would you like to know what it is?
Yeah,
okay.
Lay it on me. I'd be curious.
Spoiler alert if you are still watching The Flash. You're probably not. But she is playing a character called the Red Death. Are you familiar with the Red Death in the comic books?
I am not.
Okay, so there was a series of books called Batman Dark, I think it was Dark Knight's Metal. And essentially what it was, there are Batman from another universe who have gone on to kill the superhero, their evil Batman, take on the abilities of one of the superheroes in that universe, right? So the Red Death is the Batman who killed the Flash and got Speed Force abilities. So if you
Speed Force Batman, that's cool.
Pretty much, and yeah, and literally it's an evil version, right? Because it's the Red Death. Like, obviously it's not a good version. But yeah, if you go look it up, that character.
Yeah, I'm seeing it right. Yeah, I've seen this comic book character before. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's got the bat symbol with the lightning bolt down the middle. So pretty cool looking character overall. I think it's a really good design. The Dark Knight's Metal series was pretty well received overall. You can see some other, like, there's a Batman who's a Green Lantern, Batman who's like a Doomsday. An Aquaman style Batman. You can see all of them if you look up the metal, but like the Red Death is pretty cool. But that's pretty fun that they're bringing in, instead of Batman, they're bringing in Batwoman, who became the Red Death in that universe as a Flash character. So, kudos for them to working out how to bring in this actor back into this role for them, since Batgirl was canceled years ago. So yeah. Anyway, I think that's pretty cool. It's not enough to make me go watch the show, Mike, but I still think it's pretty fun. Moving on, we're gonna shift gears into Marvel a little bit for a little bit here, and I think this news dropped, I believe, yesterday. Maybe early leaks on Friday, rumors, but confirmed by Deadline yesterday that Disney Plus is working on a series. It's in development starring the Vision, and it'll probably be called Vision Quest, since that's a comic book series of the same name. But they're going to be taking, obviously, Vision, the White Vision from WandaVision, and creating a series around him instead of putting him in a movie, I guess.
Yeah, I guess we all kind of curious, like, where'd that dude go? He just kind of like flew off GTFO, and we have not seen his pale body yet. Yeah,
he talked about being a boat or something, right? Like, hey, we're some sort of boat metaphor here. What are you doing?
He went to go steal the ship of
Theseus. He went to actually just study that. He's been on that ship the whole time, just studying it, figuring out.
He's a grad student now.
Yeah, exactly. I think when you look up photos of the White Vision, because I've seen a lot of them with this news, Paul Bettany looks menacing as hell in that outfit. Like, I really, really like the White Vision look they gave him. Because I think it's like, he has black eyes or something like that, or the mouth is very like pitch black. I'm like, this just looks so cool. It looks so evil. But it's also funny that this is the second WandaVision spinoff series to be announced to be in production since the show wrapped up last year. So very fun to see the effects of that trickling down. I do think Elizabeth Olsen will show up in the show. I think she'll do some cameos. Maybe not the whole show, but I think she'll be in it.
I mean, I guess it just depends on when do you want in this universe to establish, the return of Scarlet Witch. So they, if you quote unquote kill off a character in a film, do they have to be brought back into a film, or is it fine to bring them back in a TV series? How big of an event does that have to be?
Well, I was thinking more of flashbacks or him trying to figure out where his memories were, right? Because he's like you still have your memories in your chip, like your body. You're literally a robot, dude. I thought it would be more memories and actually like bringing her back to life. But I guess White Vision is the story of Vision coming back to life. So there could be some parallel there.
I mean, maybe he's the one that saves Wanda. I'm not saying he necessarily goes to that mountainside and like pulls the rubble off, right? But maybe him returning to himself, somehow inadvertently like fixes Wanda in a way, because I know people had issues with the Multiverse of Madness. Overall, I enjoyed it and had a good time, but it is a huge turn, right, for Wanda as a character to go through all of that, emotional healing in her series, and then to all of a sudden be a bad guy again for the film, which it's a little hard to contend with. So maybe we can kind of like rejigger things and like kind of get her back on her way when Vision kind of comes back.
I don't think we need her anymore. I literally think she ended on a high note, and we can not bring her back to life. But I think they could use. Since Vision and her have memories from being together, right, for several years before Infinity War, there's an opportunity to revisit those memories. Kind of like the most famous quote from that whole show, WandaVision, came from, right? Like what is grief but of love persevering or whatever. And it's like, there's an opportunity, I think, to have maybe more moments like that and have the characters still live on in a better memory than that. Kind of thing, like, the stuff after that shows that she still was a good person. She had focus. She wasn't fully evil. She was just trying to get her kids back in her mind. But I think Vision getting his own series is fine. I'd love to know what other characters will be involved, right? Is this do we get, because he was created by Bruce Banner and Tony Stark, do we get a Bruce Banner reference or cameo? Do we get Ironheart to appear maybe in this one as well? Because she's kind of taken that, very intelligent role. Maybe even Shuri if she's relevant at that time.
I mean, I'm sure Vision has the ability to plug into the internet. I think he literally does, to catch up on things. But canonically, the Vision that we know and love does not know what happened to Tony Stark after he got the gem pulled out of his head. So he'll need to do a little catching up.
Yeah, I do think there's that interesting part in, again, Infinity War, where he's in the Black Panther or the Wakanda lab, and they're like copying or trying to like get the gem out beforehand. I think they copied the stuff over, and I think that's going to play into it. Like they have a backup of him at that moment, and they're going to be able to find that somewhere. So we'll if that comes to MacGuffin, we'll let everybody know. But we'll keep you posted as more information rolls out on this. Moving into 2 trailers. Ahoy, Mike. We have got 2 trailers for everybody. First and foremost, actually James Gunn related, Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special. Dropped a trailer literally, I believe, the day after the DC announcement, right? So it shows that, they are making this holiday special a special presentation, which is what we all thought they would come to name these after Werewolf by Night. Looks hilarious. It looks to be more of a Drax and a Mantis story, really, than any other characters. As they go and get the actual actor playing himself, Kevin Bacon, in this movie.
Yeah. Well, it's all about, doing these like Disney Plus things, especially when it's only like the length of a special presentation. Well, it's all about the balancing act of like your big actors, right? You're not going to get Chris Pratt for a solid, 55 minutes, right? But you could get Dave Bautista, and I don't even know who plays Mantis. I forgot her name.
Clementif.
Yeah, so you can pull that off, but those are great characters to team up with, right? They're both just like oblivious, like very like just like floaty.
They're
airheads.
aloof. They're aloof and they're literal both at the same time.
Like if theoretically Gamora's not around anymore. That's kind of seems to be the conflict that they're inserting in this Christmas special. If she was around, like she would be maybe too logical, right? When she goes to Earth, she would probably get the mission done very, very quickly and not just be bumbling around the Hollywood Walk of Stars, right? So this looks fun, and I can tell you this is going to be successful for Disney Plus for one reason. I didn't even know the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise was on my parents' radar, but I get a text message from my mother who is like closing in on 70 years old, and she's just like, "Oh, when's that space thing coming out? Is that coming to theaters?" And I was like, oh wow, somehow my mom saw this trailer. I don't know who showed her. I don't know how she got it. I mean, she did get an iPhone within the last year. Yeah. So she has the ability to open up apps now. So she came across it. So I was like, oh no, it's going to be on Disney Plus. You don't have to go to the theater for this one. So if my parents out there are looking forward to this, I mean, that's a good sign for Disney Plus.
And your mother's also retired, right? Is that my understanding? Yes. So she's got some time on her hands. She's going to be eating this content up. But I think, to me, this is going to really make every 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon game a lot easier because he'll be in literally every Marvel movie. That's true. Tie right to every Marvel movie. Which is pretty funny. But honestly, I think it looks funny. It looks, humorous. I know everybody is. You can see like the Christmas attire. You're right on Drax and Mantis. I believe when they're at his house trying to get him. They're really leaning into this pretty heavily. I think it'll be fun, right? We need a good lighthearted outing because I have this really, really bad like gut feeling that Guardians 3 is just gonna rip our fucking hearts out, Mike. Like I hate to say it, I'm just terrified that movie's gonna just tear us up.
It's gonna be the last one with that crew. And just to clarify, in case my mother is listening, I believe I aged her too much. She's 60. She's 67. Just to set the record straight. Yep. But she doesn't look a day over 45. Wow. So all things are well.
Yes. Thank you, Mike's mom. We appreciate you listening.
Love you, Mom.
Yes. And this is coming out for her. It's going to be on Disney Plus November 25th, Mike, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So literally, don't worry about which holiday you're going to be talking, because you're going to watch it right before Thanksgiving and then go watch it again on Thanksgiving Day and then the day after. Whenever you're watching it with family, you can do that coming up pretty soon. So I think that's awesome. That's in November, not December, for everybody. Following, I guess the day before that, I texted Mike this literally, I think after we got off the air last week. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania dropped a trailer this week. The first official trailer for everybody. And I'll tell you what, this does not feel or look like any Ant-Man movie we've ever seen before, Mike. I believe the stakes are the highest they've ever been. And I feel it. It feels like a real, like actual things are on the line other than a shrinking, skyscraper than anything else.
Yeah, I'm curious how much of this film takes place in the quantum realm. We obviously got to get a little bit more explanation of what is down there, right? Because the little glimpses that we've seen of it just kind of makes it look more like of this ethereal kind of science-y, fiction-y place, but it looks like now that they're stipulating in this trailer that there's civilizations down there, there's people and everything. So once you get down to the quantum level, is it actually quantum, or have you kind of slipped into another universe overall? Why is Bill Murray there? Is this all existing inside of a leaf, and if somebody walks by on the sidewalk and steps on the leaf, are they all crushed? I don't think that's the case.
I say you got to go much. I think you're closer with the universe part.
I'm curious to also I guess that's not the way I wanted to put this. This was interesting to watch because we had watched off of the show. We watched a leaked trailer for this that was aired at some convention. I don't remember.
It's San Diego Comic-Con.
Comic-Con, right? And that one has like a little different vibe to it. I felt like the leaked trailer seemed more menacing, and also you got a little bit more plot points with it too. Like Jonathan Majors in the leaked trailer tells Ant-Man that he needs him to steal something for him.
Yep.
Where in this trailer, there's no mention of stealing. He just says, "I need you to do something for me," something very vague.
Yeah. Well, and he also, I believe, in the other one, he's threatening, like, you need to do this for me or I'll kill your daughter, kind of thing, number one. And he's like, oh, I've also killed you several times before. Like, I've gone through multiple universes and killed multiple.
Yeah. Why is Kang in the quantum realm? Is that where he's hiding out? Is he's just stopping by? You know, the original Wasp, is that Janet? Is that her? That's her name, right?
Yeah, Janet Van Dyne.
Yeah, she is spooked to go back into the quantum realm because she didn't tell everybody everything. And has she come across Kang already down there, or is this just like just more of a general like, hey, it's not all fun and games down there, let's not go back?
Yeah.
Lots of questions arising for sure. I'm curious how this meshes with somebody like Paul Rudd, who is just walking comic relief. Not in a bad way, great and entertaining, but we are taking it more seriously here, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, like you said, the highest stakes that Ant-Man has ever been, not only story-wise, but universe-wise, like bringing Kang into the universe, who's got a whole movie named after him that's on the schedule.
Knowing that there is a Kang dynasty coming down the road, and like not every version of this character is called Kang, right? Because he was He Who Remains and Loki. So knowing that this version is the one that's going to be the one that's in trouble is interesting. I think Paul Rudd can pull off drama very well, you know, especially with the stakes, knowing that, you know, they've recast the daughter as an older actress. There's a lot kind of going on here, and I like the visuals. It looks different than any other movie. Like there's a lot, like I said, there's just a lot to look at. Like you mentioned, ethereal. There's the Chronopolis city, which is Kang's like town. Like you see the circles spinning around, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, they have glowing rings!" So that obviously must be connected to the 10 rings. I don't think it's connected to the 10 rings, but you know what? That's fine. Everyone's like, this is a new Mephisto, right? Everything's connected to 10 rings.
I mean, I'm not ruling it out, but it is important to know that one thing that the MCU has always done really, really well is they try to keep the visual identity consistent throughout all of their movies. So even though you might have characters from other universes or from outer space or different sorts of technology, like even when you see like simple things like armored plates or barrels on guns or, you know, shoulder pads, right? They kind of all have like MCU vibes to them, right? You can tell they all kind of came from the same art direction in a way in pre-production, and they have a lot of great visual artists that work over there as well. So literally there is a person like with a pencil that's kind of, you know, drawing this stuff out. So that could always be the easiest answer too. Oh, the reason that those rings look familiar is like, well, you put those pre-production artists and tell them to draw any sort of ring with that looks like technologically advanced, you know, they're going to have similar, like, you know, Kirby lines, you know, stuff like that on it. So I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
We shall see. We do know that there is a mystery behind Shang-Chi's 10 rings. There's something mystical about them that's unexplained, so it wouldn't be out of the order. It wouldn't be unexpected to get a little bit more info on them.
Yeah, 100%. Also, we see Kang's time chair briefly, right? We get to see him in his blue mask several times, and one of them is when he's kind of coming down, like they obscure his chair a little bit, which is, his chair is very important to this, Mike, because his time chair allows him to exist in multiple realities at the same time, which is why when He Who Remains is like, if you kill me, you know, you're going to unleash worse versions of me. This is going to be the one that's like, I figured out a way to prevent people from cutting me off from all these timelines. There's also a really cool thing. It looks like Ant-Man's running in like larger versions of Ant-Man, or like running beside him and like falling down. Looks like maybe like a time ripple kind of effect. But I think the saddest thing about this trailer, Mike, and this kind of hit me in the feels, there is a moment where someone calls him Spider-Man. And it seems to be an elderly man with a mustache and glasses. And I'm like, that was a Stan Lee cameo. That's what they wanted that to be. And we don't have Stan Lee anymore to be that cameo. But it looks fun. There's still that little bit of humor. The front looks like to be a lot of, again, huge stakes and a lot of drama in this one. So I'm very excited to see them take this to the next level, other than just, hey, they want to steal a shrinky lab that we're running around a city to hide. But it's coming out February 17th, 2023. This trailer dropping just in time before Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Moving on, the Black Panther Wakanda Forever is out and doing rounds, but this is unrelated because Nate Moore, who is also an MCU producer, not just Kevin Feige that's at the top. Nate Moore does other stuff. He confirms that the Eternals will be returning to Marvel. We have not seen the last of those characters, so it sounds like he, as a producer, has plans for those characters in some other movies. Mike, I don't know what they are, but I don't know if they'll get a solo film or not. Right, so. Are you surprised? You don't sound surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a big risk, right? I mean, this was the first time Marvel missed, right? I would say critically. The audience score
I don't know. I've seen the Thor: The Dark World, and
yeah, I guess, but I think Thor: The Dark World still. I don't know. It depends. Do you gauge the entire industry of Hollywood based on Rotten Tomatoes? It's probably not the best idea to do that, right? Yeah. But it was headline worthy enough to where Eternals was the first one to get that, rotten headline. So that's enough to at least hit it,
we've always talked about it's always an asterisk because no one's gone back and reviewed the movies like once they come out, right? Like you don't like go back and like, oh, because we do that. Well, like, okay, we compared the whole MCU as a whole, but no one's going back and like, oh, Thor: The Dark World really is the worst one of these, or like Iron Man 3 is the worst one, like because like they're in that moment rather than at that moment, Thor: The Dark World wasn't the worst movie, it was the worst movie, and things have gotten worse. But I think there's a sliding scale. But anyway, I mean, there's a lot of big name actors in that cast list, and I think you would be remiss not to use them or find a way to redeem them, kind of thing. But yeah, we just don't know. This is going to be a big question mark in everyone's head. Someone did say, I was talking to someone the other day. They were like, I really like the Eternals. They're like, it's my favorite MCU movie lately. I'm like, that is a unique standpoint that no one has said. So
good on them.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's entitled to liking their own movies, but that just kind of took me by surprise for a second. I'm like, oh, most people lean into either Shang-Chi or Spider-Man or Doctor Strange. So good for you. Shifting gears, I'm not really shifting too many gears. We're just staying in the same lane here. Black Panther Wakanda Forever had a red carpet event this past week, Mike. A lot of actors there. This is we talked to our blue in the face about this movie, being so much and having so much on it, and the social media embargoes are lifted, so people out there saying things about the movie. I don't like to take first opening day previews, right? Like, or I guess early red carpet event previews as much, because if you're going to be there, they're probably ready because you say good things about movies. Like, you don't say bad things. So, I'm not going to worry about that. But they did confirm there's only a mid-credit scene for this movie, Mike. There's no second post-credit scene for this film. Mostly because it is also the end of a phase movie, but also they feel the mid-credit scene was pretty good to wrap it up.
Oh, yeah. I keep forgetting that this is the end of a phase. Really, this being the end of the phase almost seems more like a schedule thing, not necessarily it was intended to end a phase. I don't know about you, but this phase, I would say this phase as a whole has been just kind of like, not really experimental, but like, let's figure out. Let's try to refocus. What's going on here? Where do we go after these huge, gigantic movies have just rocked the world pop culture and the box office? We need to. What can we do? Is there a life to the MCU after all of this? So I would say this was more of like a almost like growing pains. I would say.
Yes. Kevin Feige. He's also because of Black Panther. He's Phase 4 is about new introductions, right? And I would agree with him. Right. You have so many actors. Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. who left in the end of the other ones. A lot of those actors kind of, I wouldn't say phase themselves out, but a lot of them age themselves out, right? You can't rely on them forever for your franchises. So I agree there's been a lot of new introductions this time around, but at the same time, whether it's scheduling or not, I think with the Quantumania kicking off literally the next phase and King Dynasty being one of the two Avengers movies, I think that's important. as well. Like, I think that's a good starting point for a phase. So, because Ant-Man 1 ended phase 2, or phase 1, no, phase 2. It was after Age of Ultron, and, you know, it didn't really do anything for us there either. But, you know, I think it's fine. Also, this week, Rihanna is back with a new song for the upcoming movie. She's not done music in 6 years, apparently. And she has one, if not 2 songs for this movie. The new one's called Lift Me Up. This is not something you're going to be playing in the club. This is very much a very emotional, you know, driven musical piece. So we've included the link to the YouTube thing in our notes. If you have you listened to it yet, Mike, at all?
No, because I'm terrified that there's going to be spoilers somewhere in it. I've just gone on a full Black Panther firewall.
Gotcha.
So
I listened to
nothing will be getting in until I see the movie.
I listened to it on Spotify, or like the preview, like the Spotify preview. There's nothing about the movie in it, so you're good in terms of lyrics if you come across it. I'm not going to watch the video, but it is on Spotify as well if you want to have a visual free experience with it. So there's that. One of the things I watched this week, Mike, was the Star Wars Tales of the Jedi, which is now out on Disney+. I know you've not got a chance to watch this yet. We talked about it before the show. But this is now out on Disney+. 6 episodes. 3 of them feature Ahsoka, and 3 feature Count Dooku. And they don't go in that order, either. It's not like 3 Count Dooku and 3 Ahsoka. They're split up a little bit in terms of this. And I was talking to Mike about this, and come to find out, Dave Filoni wrote all of these. And that is fantastic news for anyone who's a big fan of his Star Wars work, right? The Clone Wars, Rebels, you know, Mandalorian, stuff like that. And they're all at most 15 minutes. Most of them, one of them I think runs 12 minutes. And that's with credits included. So these are really brief run times. I was worried they were going to be like 30 minutes, right? Or like smaller, you know, actual episodes. 2 of these probably equal 1 episode. It's a fun experience, Mike. Did you have any questions about it before you jumped into it? Because I know I'm trying to get people to watch this, because I will tell you, these are the most atmospheric Star Wars content I've ever seen in my life. Like this is not like a regular episode of the Clone Wars. This is there's a lot of silence, a lot of visuals telling the story rather than just relying on words and like people telling you what's going on.
No, I mean, we were talking offline before we started recording, and I said I probably wasn't going to be watching these until I heard somebody tell me, oh, you got to watch these shorts. I feel like Star Wars Visions kind of burned me a little bit. Like, I'm not going to get that time back. But you seem to be very, very enthusiastic about this. Yeah. So it seems like I got to watch these, and then you need to watch Andor. And then we'll come back together, because every single week, like, I've been catching up with Andor, and I've been wanting to talk about it on the show, but we've either had, like, you know, 2 episodes to record, or we've had a lot of notes to talk about, or, you know, Chris earlier was on the fence whether he was going to jump back into it right now, but Andor has been so good. It has been, Chris, as he will text me all the time, an image of a crow on a plate. I'm eating crow
because I only did that because he goes into our group text and he's like, you know, Andor's the best show ever. I'm like, this is not. We did not. 4 months ago, we were the complete opposite. For years, we beat the hell out of this show.
It's just so unexpected. It came out of nowhere. I had such low expectations, and then all of a sudden, it's just like, oh, I'm watching the best Star Wars thing possibly ever made. It almost like watching this will almost retroactively make you think Mandalorian is not as good as it is. Which is kind of weird, because I feel like Andor is the first time I've watched something on Disney Plus or something Star Wars related where they're like elevating the story on every level to the point where I'm like, oh, everything should be like this. Why do I have to settle? But luckily, Mandalorian, it's a totally different vibe. They lean really heavily into like the Western theme, so I'm not expecting it to be the same. But like, I'm just having such a good time with Andor. All of the little details are paid attention to. I feel like I'm seeing new things in the universe that I've never seen before, which is really impressive for something that's a prequel. But like, yeah, I never thought I'd be here on this show, like begging people to go watch Andor, but it's amazing. And I've been seeing like good responses to it online as well. I've just haven't really quite seen the big upswell of just like, oh, you got to go watch it. Every once in a while, it's just like a tweet of just like, wow, this show's good.
What I hear, you know, is it's a slow burn, right? And you know this, like it's not like, you know, the first episode you talked about, it's the first episode and second, they just kind of end. Like, you're like,
well, And it's the whole reason why it premiered with like 3 episodes too.
Well, it originally didn't plan to do that, and imagine if it hadn't, it probably would have had maybe a false start, if you will. Nothing bad show, but like it's a slow burn, and I've got to get into it. So I will definitely be watching Andor. I will have it done by the time the season wraps up. But in the meantime, you can take an hour and watch Tales of the Jedi, because I think what you like, Mike, these short bursts have lightsaber battles. And I know you like some lightsaber battles.
I do like lightsabers.
There's some pretty good lightsaber battles in this, and it's really, like I said, if I say anything, to your point about Andor, seeing things that you don't see in Star Wars very often. This does, like I said, atmosphere. It shows, doesn't tell. Everything is very cinematic about the shots, and you really feel that Filoni, like he like probably storyboarded some rough storyboards, like this is what we want to do. But I think it's fun. But yeah, I think we're in a good Star Wars place right now. And I would not, having watched what was it, the Visions, Star Wars Visions. This is nothing like Visions, so you're in good hands with old Dave Filoni. Just put on your cowboy hat and pretend you're there with him. Like pretend it's his cowboy hat you put on you. So we are in a good era for Star Wars. Speaking of Star Wars, this is I don't know how to feel about this. We're going to have to talk a little bit about this, whether it's long or not, is that the next movie for Star Wars is now in the works. From Damon Lindelof, who has worked on such series such as Lost and the Watchmen series, right? Mm-hmm. He also wrote Star Trek Into Darkness, World War Z, and Tomorrowland. So, frowny face. I even wrote the frowny face in the notes, Mike, because I'm like, oh, those aren't good. And this is a movie. But they already even hired a director, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. I probably butchered her name. She directed Miss Marvel. No complaints against her directing Miss Marvel. And the writer room, this is where the big fun part comes in, has been created in secret with like 6 to 7 people, and one of those does include Dave Filoni himself, Mike.
God, I mean, those are the steps, right, that they should have taken before they ever relaunched that original trilogy. This is what I wanted to hear. That third bullet point, that there is going to be an idea of where this franchise moves forward. And it's interesting, right, because we're not talking about the Taika Waititi movie. We're not talking about the Rian Johnson movie. We're not talking about the rumored possible Kevin Feige Star Wars movie. Oh. This seems like we are trying to relaunch the cinematic portion of Star Wars.
Yes.
And we're starting from the start. This is where you need to start.
Yes.
A writer's room.
A writer's room, because it's not just one person who's you're relying on. You have a bunch of people bouncing ideas off of. And again, Dave Filoni, I believe, is the Star Wars Bible, right? He knows events and characters up, down, left, right. Fantastic. And this movie is going to be set after the Rise of Skywalker film. And it may have characters from those movies in it. However, it is not a continuation of the Skywalker saga. So it sounds like their plan is to, again, like I said, go back to the cinematic universe, maybe start new stories, but this is not something to do with the Skywalkers or the Palpatines kind of thing. So the characters may pop up, but it's fine to start fresh, if you will.
It's like where do you even take the franchise as a whole, right? It's so crazy because they occupy an area in space that's a galaxy. You have literally an infinite number of stories, right? Just look at all the stories you can tell about humanity here on Earth, and that's just one single planet, right? So there's obviously no limitations of what they can do, but like at the core, the Star Wars has always been about this big struggle in the galaxy for who controls it. So like how often can you swing back and forth between this idea, right? Like you can only build so many Death Stars so many times. You can only blow up them so many times. Also like the once you get too realistic about it, right? Like the logistics of controlling an entire galaxy is like mind-boggling, right? I mean, you can barely look at our own planet, you can barely like control one country for a long enough time. So I don't know how you do it with a galaxy. So yeah, I would say it's not an easy solution. There's tons of cool stuff in Star Wars that you can tell stories about, but like moving forward, like how many times do we have to save the galaxy? Shouldn't we be in an era of peace now, moving forward, hopefully?
So I'm gonna pull possibly an idea here that came out of the Star Wars, I guess, is Legacies, right? The expanded universe before Disney. But in that, the trilogy that involved actually the Solo children and Luke Skywalker's kids was they had to fight this race of Force, I guess, immune creatures called the Yuzon Vong. So literally, they just kind of came out of the outer depths of space, right, in the galaxy that nobody knew they existed, and tried to capture or like take over all of the actual like known space that was like settled and had like a seat at the Coruscant table, if you will. But they were Force immune, so like literally Jedi couldn't, like the Jedi and the Force people like Luke was training couldn't do anything for them. I think that's an idea, right? Like you mentioned, like an unknown, not necessarily, I don't want a technologically advanced race, but like maybe somebody who's like, I don't know, who's, I guess, more primal, right?
I'm looking at them now. Primal's a really good way to put them. They very much look alien, but in the sense of they actors could play them because they have like humanoid bodies in a way, right?
Yeah.
So this could be a way to unite kind of like the light side and the dark side of just like, did the Knights of Ren all die? I don't even remember.
Sure, why not? I think so.
But like there could be like some dark side users in the galaxy, some light side users. Oh, we got to come together.
Because it doesn't matter. Yeah, if you're Force sensitive or not. Yeah,
looking at I had to Google Yuzon Vong, spelled Y-U-U. That'll get you started.
Yeah.
And I'm getting like Star Trek vibes.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. It's kind of like I was thinking Klingons, right? Klingons a little bit. Like they're very like, down to like you can't use technology to beat them because they're not using technology, kind of thing. And there's opportunities, and I say this simply because I had to look this up, one of the Tales of the Jedi shorts pulled actual like almost word for word, description for description, out of a legacy novel to create a whole episode out of that. Dave Filoni did. So I think there's opportunity for them to pull from stuff like this into Star Wars. Right.
It would be I feel it's definitely like a dice roll, right? I wouldn't say it would guarantee that it would work because it seems like so alien, I guess pun intended, to bring in like an outsider to this universe. But it would be interesting, right? All of a sudden you bring in somebody from outside the galaxy who doesn't know what you've been through, doesn't care what you've been through, doesn't know what a Senate is, and just like messes shit up. So that could liven things up a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it keeps the war there, but makes it a different type of war, right? You're not building Death Stars, you're not building huge Star Destroyers over and over again. So I think there's opportunity, but this is I've got mixed feelings about this, right? Like we've been burned by Star Wars movies for so long, but it sounds like possibly they're trying to take a step in the right direction with a writer room here to get the story straight first before making the movie. So we'll keep you posted, Mike. I know we're a little over. We're going long here, but let's keep going to Star Wars real fast. The Ahsoka series, Ezra Bridger, the actor, the character is rumored to get a live action series after the Ahsoka show. And the actor apparently signed on for that show when he was cast for the Ahsoka series as well, with the understanding that he will be in his own show later on.
And this would be in the Mandalorian timeline?
Yeah, right? Because in the episode with Ahsoka, that's where he shows up. Yeah, he's looking for Thrawn.
Okay, gotcha. That's all I needed to know, because I have to think about what are the implications of who can cross over with this character, right?
Yeah, I think there's still the Thrawn, the Ahsoka. Again, Mandalorian. When he shows up in an episode, it makes it better, right? So I don't think it's going to be bad. I just don't know much about where Ezra Bridger could go in a post. I don't know, like a mid-range kind of world there before, after 6, before 7. You've never seen an episode of Doctor Who in your life, have you?
I've seen one. Literally, okay. I've seen one.
Okay. So I'm a big Doctor Who fan. This is the other thing I've been watching. I found there are very, really good audio mixes for the older Doctor Who episodes. And so I've got to mix that audio with the files I have, but I can make my own really good sounding audio quality ones. And it's been great. So with that opportunity, I've taken the opportunity to watch these with my wife, who's never seen Doctor Who before. So literally after we started watching it, they made an announcement that new episodes of Doctor Who will be coming to Disney Plus outside of the UK and Ireland, where it's on BBC, starting next year, with the new special starring David Tennant and Neil Patrick Harris. And I only say this because David Tennant has in everyone's MCU, or Marvel knowledge because of his portrayal of the Purple Man in Jessica Jones, which was fantastic. And everybody loves Neil Patrick Harris, right? We need some Doogie Howser in our life.
It's a good strategical get for Disney Plus. Yeah. To me, it feels more like those deals when you hear about CBS won the auction to carry, the Super Bowl or something, right? Like Doctor Who is like the Super Bowl for nerds, right? So they will follow the show where it goes. So good strategic pull for them. Good on them.
It is currently on HBO Max, but to me, this also rings of Zaslav wants to cut costs, so we're not going to license Doctor Who anymore on HBO Max. And this is Disney's hell, we'll take Doctor Who. Let's put it on our show. And this is also Doctor Who starting 2005 with Christopher Eccleston, who played Malekith in Thor: The Dark World, the evil elf. So there's a lot of MCU people who started in Doctor Who and made their way to MCU. So it'd be a great time to jump on next year with David Tennant and Neil Patrick Harris. This news came yesterday, late yesterday for me. Henry Cavill will not return as Geralt of Rivia in The Witcher Season 4.
This was interesting because you would think it's maybe contract negotiations fell because, you're transitioning from Season 3 to Season 4 and, Henry Cavill wanted more money. But there was a note pin that was released that Cavill was just oh no, I'm all on board for this, somebody else is going to be taking the helm. It was great while I was here. To me, it just seems like a mutual decision at a time where Henry Cavill wants to get back into the feature film universe where his mega stardom kind of more belongs, right? And also maybe he can kind of sense that I don't know, is the hype for The Witcher there anymore? They're getting a fourth season, so people are watching it, but I never hear really, when I get together with friends that are super nerdy, I never really hear anyone talk about The Witcher. Obviously, it's all anecdotal, so maybe Henry Cavill is just I'm going to get out while the getting's good and go be in a Mission Impossible movie or be Superman for a while.
He was in Mission Impossible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I couldn't remember if he died, so I couldn't remember if he'd come back or not.
He took a hook to the face.
That's right. He fell in the helicopter, right?
Yeah, because you're he can totally live. Oh no, he's dead. He's dead. That I think there's that. Everyone's it's a Superman news. It may not be Superman. He just was Enola Holmes 2 is coming out on Netflix. Right, Netflix has treated Henry Cavill well, right, very well with the Witcher shows. He's still going to be in season 3, which is summer of next year. He wants to do more movies, and that's totally fine. Filming the show, I hear, is also I wouldn't say torture, but it takes up a lot of time because they're on locations for a lot of it. So probably not as fun for that. But Liam Hemsworth will take over the role starting season 4, and Henry Cavill has blessed him as his, I guess, successor in that role. So I don't think there's, like I said, no bad blood here. Nothing horrible sounding.
I had to reread those headlines a lot, right? Because I was oh, is he gonna be the same character? Are they bringing in the brother of Geralt or something like that, or another Witcher, which is something that you could do in the universe, right? But Liam Hemsworth, I mean, sorry Liam, but everyone always says lesser Hemsworth, in captions underneath his name. So there's no way he fills the boots 100% like Cavill. He's gonna have to just take the character in a different direction.
Can I be candid here? Knowing Netflix, how has this show made it to season 4 without getting canceled? What is the draw for them here? Is there something else we're not seeing? Because they also have that spin-off series that just dropped, right, or is dropping.
Yeah, and they have all of those animated stuff. Yeah, they just. I mean, maybe people are watching it, right? I mean, this would be the ideal time for Netflix to cancel The Witcher, right? I mean, they have it all written in all the headlines that they're not doing as well as they used to, and they're always canceling stuff. So
maybe they're banking on that new Witcher game coming out when this is right, because they did announce a new Witcher game the other day, and I'm like, well, maybe if that comes out the same time season 4 does, they could ride that wave.
Could be a possibility.
But this is crazy to think about. Lastly, this is going to be a brief one for us here. Avatar: The Way of Water. There's a new trailer coming this week, whether you like it or not. So we're going to get our first, I guess, story trailer for this, and this movie is confirmed to be over 3 hours long.
Ooh, this is going to be difficult considering you're going to be inundated with water.
Yeah.
The entire time you watch the movie, you're going to have to run to the bathroom all the time.
Oh my! I can't even swim. I'm going to be terrified. I don't know how I'm going to handle it. I'm going to be so immersed in.
Wait, can you not swim?
I can't swim. No, I've never.
What?
I can survive a little bit, but
what?
I'm not good at swimming.
How long have I known you? And I'm just finding out now you can't swim.
Yeah. When have you ever had an opportunity to be near water?
I guess. Wow. All right. Well, this is a treat for anybody that makes it to the end of this long episode.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. Fun fact about me.
Keep you away from water.
Yeah, everyone's like, I'll teach you. I'm like, it's not about not learning. I'm just very uncoordinated in water, and I can't take to it.
It is kind of weird, right? Once you get to like this age in your life when you have full agency over yourself and you've kind of passed the pool party kind of era of your life, it's very easily for you to avoid bodies of water until like you expire, right?
Well, that's what life vests are for. I can literally just throw on a life vest and I'm totally fine. But I'm definitely if there's a pool, I'm just gonna sit in the waiting part of it and just splash on myself.
I'm gonna go on a log flume ride with you now. Are those like extra intense for you just because if the worst of the worst happens?
Well, no, those aren't bad. I know how shallow those rapid waves are in those log rides. But I'm also terrified of heights, so if it's those ones that go up and splash down, I'll probably pass out.
What a way to end the episode. Yeah. A big reveal. Yeah. I mean, episode 400's next week.
Yeah, right?
I was bound to learn something in these 400 episodes about you.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's still a spooky season, Mike, and nothing's spookier than being in deep water. So,
wow.
Ooh.
Wow. All right, folks.
All right.
That's it.
All right, this is it. We're going to wrap it up here. Mike, people want to know what you're up to, what you're doing, where they can find you at.
Oh, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And Chris, people want to find you and possibly save you from drowning. Where can they find you?
Yeah, well, you can find me not in the water, but you can find me on Instagram at Valdan87. Or Twitter, Valdan, VALDAN. If people want to know more about the show, what we're doing, go listen to our Black Adam review we did last week and get ready for our upcoming Black Panther review. Where can they get all that goody information at?
Yeah, I'll keep this short and sweet because I got to go tell my wife that you can't swim.
Oh, my God.
Because I think she's going to be blown away by this, too. Just go to superheroslate.com. No shame to anybody that can't swim. It's just like, usually I feel like you learn that about somebody very early on in a friendship. So it's just like the glass shattering in my head right now. All of these. Would you ever go on a cruise ship? Is that all out of the question?
We've talked about it. I don't know how I take to the rocking motion before I'd worry about drowning on a cruise ship.
I guess it's totally separate, different issues caused by the same thing you can't swim in.
Yeah, we don't have the Titanic going on here. Okay, I think we're fine. But anyways, just so everyone knows, Mike lives in L.A. I live in the Midwest. There's no way that we would be together. Like, the only time we get together is like Christmas, and I'm like, we're not going near water at Christmas.
You are landlocked. We're gonna find an indoor water park somewhere. But yes, superheroslate.com. That is where you need to go. All right. If you're a super fan, share the show with a friend and a buddy, and tell them Chris can't swim. And we'll be here next week for episode 400.
That's right. Tell him I can't swim. Thanks, guys. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.